And we are live.
Great. Great.
Hey, welcome to Write More Light. I am joined today by Dawson Davenport, the founder of Indigenous Arts Alliance and Indigenous Peoples Art Gallery Cafe. And is it Dapian? Is that how you pronounce your clothing line?
Yeah.
Dawson is a star in Eastern Iowa of literature, of visual arts. He is Meskwaki and creator of all kinds of art. So we're super excited to have him. I met Dawson through the Iowa Writers House Bicultural Writers Fellowship. He was a fellow in 2019 and an all-around just awesome person and artist, and I'm super excited to have him. Midwest Writing Center is partnered with Indigenous Peoples Art Gallery Cafe, which Dawson runs for his stay home reading series that was for a few months here at the beginning of quarantine, and it looks like it's going to be restarting here next week, September 12th. Thank you so much for joining us, Dawson.
Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor to be here, share a little bit today with everyone.
So normally what we do with Write More Light is we'll talk about some aspect of writing. We try to keep our mental tools sharp for being artists, for being active, for keeping the faith. We want to act as a community resource. We want to provide resources for writers and artists. But I think it's also really important that we talk to the artists in our community, the people who are keeping the faith and who are doing the work. So super pumped to have you as our first featured guest. At the end of this, as usual, we're going to do a free write. Maybe you'll help us out with that one. But otherwise, we'll just get into a little interview.
All right, sounds good.
So I know this about you, and I see the work behind you. That's all your work? That's all your paintings?
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, I do many different styles of painting. I do design work. I do just all kinds of different, whatever I guess comes to mind. I do like to do illustrations and like cartoons and stuff like that. Play along with lettering and graffiti type stuff. But I also get serious with things as well and put serious content matter together. I try to use different because I'm like traditionally I like to draw with a pen and just a paper. But after going to University of Iowa, I got into working with all kinds of different tools, painting and on the computer, do graphic design work. That's where I do all my designs for my clothing brand and other graphic stuff. So it's definitely been a growing thing for me here in the last couple of years as an artist, just developing all of these things I guess I should have been doing, but I've always been self-taught. I've always been just kind of a student on my own of art and literature and music and everything like that. So it's just kind of come to this point where I'm able to be in a position where I can share that with not only people here in Iowa, but everywhere. I really enjoy doing this work and being kind of here in this space right now, sharing not only my work but the work of other Indigenous artists and writers and poets and stuff like that. So I kind of grew up in that area, in that kind of in that generation. I call it the keep it real generation. So I love hip hop. I love hip hop. For those of you who don't really know me or don't know much about what got me really going as an artist, and I truly attribute that to my love for hip hop. And when Sarah had mentioned about the Iowa Writers House and that experience, I had wrote part of some of the writings that we had to do. I like to share where I come from, being here in central Iowa, on the Meskwaki settlement. And when hip hop came around here for me in Iowa, it was in the early '90s. And it was kind of here in the Midwest. It was, I remember people calling it a trend. I remember people saying that it was just kind of an inner city thing, that it would kind of blow over, and that it was not really that something that was just a fad. And coming from here in central Iowa, small town Iowa, rural Iowa, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of like, that's weird, because you had acts like uh, we got the mainstream stuff. So we got like MC Hammer and Criss Cross and all of these mainstream artists. But what really got me going was like acts like Public Enemy and some of those groups where it was they were like they are now. They were kind of this radical group, this kind of they were very serious and very and that's kind of something we're needing right now today, in today's times, because of what's going on in the world. And here in Iowa, little old Iowa, we got a lot of great things happening with the protests and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to us, being a student, a lifetime student and stuff like that. It's really cool to see kind of how these things are unfortunately still happening, but at the same time, we're still there's people like me out there who are kind of like, wow, use our art for this, use what we can to express ourselves and to keep expressing ourselves. And so when I say I come from that era and kind of I'm influenced by that, that's what you see here with everything I do now and create. It's all this kind of keep staying fresh, keep staying. If you're really into that hip hop culture, you're always trying to create that new phrase, that new catch line, that new for me, and working with different platforms and mediums and stuff like that. It's always, I'm always in that mind frame, because I grew up wanting to be a rapper. I wanted to be a hip hop artist, and so it was about freestyling. It was about coming up with your own original thoughts and ideas and stuff like that. Being different, having your own space, your own identity. And if you look back in the history of hip hop and stuff like that, you'll see how each different artist has their own unique style, their own unique, I guess in this day you call it brand. So that's kind of where I come from and what I use to influence me, and not only writing, but everything else that I do.
I think it's so important that you mentioned hip hop. I love hip hop, and I remember growing up, maybe not growing up, but as a teenager, wanting to be a writer. And my two favorite kinds of music were folk and hip hop. And people were always like, "How can you like both of those things?" But they're both word based, right? They're both about the message. They're both about the poetry. And of course, they're both about the movement. They're both art forms that are born of a desire for change and activism. And I think that that's so telling in this time. You can see how hip hop is maybe not having a resurgence, but it's definitely it's experiencing a more mainstream moment than it has before. It was a music of owning yourself.
Oppression.
I was
Okay,
going to say
yeah.
oppression, but more like a fighting oppression, right? And that's where we are. You're totally right. We're still in a civil rights movement, right? That hasn't ended. It quieted for a while, and that's exactly what we need right now. I love how much you love hip hop. I love that you brought that up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of it's kind of sad too, like being like into that kind of like Public Enemy and stuff like that. It's just really sad to see how hip hop has kind of taken more of the mainstream turn, because a lot of those artists that they're called old school now, Tupac and all of them, they had those messages of like, kind of what we're seeing today. And it's kind of
Oh yeah,
kind of weird how
I love the song. The song "Changes" is exactly as relevant today as it was when it was written 30
and
years ago.
yeah, yeah. And it's just,
It's
kind
just
of
the way it is.
yeah. And it's sad that it's taken that turn, because I think we really need that kind of those kind of messages right now to get us through some of this. I don't want to always hear about what someone has, or what someone can acquire, with their riches. I want to hear about how we can take shit over and kind of change the world for all of us, to live in a better place, because that's what it was ultimately about. So
Um, so I think this is perfect segue. You didn't know where I was going, but um, I was going to ask you, how you stay active. I know that the Meskwaki settlement has been locked down, where the rest of Iowa has not. The rest of Iowa is experiencing the worst or most COVID positivity rate in the world. Um, and you've been hunkered down since March. So how do you stay active? How do you keep up with your art? How do you stay inspired? It sounds like you've already answered that, but
yeah, I kind of so on top of like being an artist and all of that, I really had to grow into this kind of this role of speaking, and this role of kind of I call it this entrepreneurial type mindset, this role, because I do have a clothing brand, and through that I learned how to always stay busy and active, because in fashion and stuff like that, and in the business world, I guess everything's constantly changing. And so prior and before all of this, when I was doing everything kind of by myself, this clothing brand, like learning everything, marketing, how you have to kind of think a couple seasons ahead and stuff like that. How you got to stay fresh in your designs and stuff like that. It kind of trained me to always uh, keep busy and stay busy. And so with things like art and doing stuff like this, it's one of the reasons why I came up with this idea of hosting uh, a poetry reading, a stay-home poetry reading series, was because it kept me looking forward to Saturdays, at 7 p.m. It kept me looking forward to reaching out to artists, other Indigenous artists, and being like, hey, you want to come do this? And following this format that I think is something that's pretty cool, because like I said in the beginning, it's not about just me. It's about promoting other artists. So that's what really keeps me inspired, and then keeps me looking forward to tomorrow, even with all of this stuff going on. The pandemic and the derecho that just happened, that land hurricane. um, with all of this other stuff going on here in Iowa, it really just made me kind of uh, hunker down and get serious about things, because, in my, I guess, life experience and everything that brought me up to this point, it really lets me know that time in life is short, and that I really shouldn't wait for bad things to happen in order to uh, compel me to want to be an artist and do all of these things I love. Because growing up and stuff, you see how life is pretty short, and how life is, it can be changed really really quickly. And the way this year has been, that's kind of a constant reminder that we have to always be willing to uh, do that work. Every day, every single day, we have to be motivated. We have to be uh, driven, and all of that, to kind of keep us going, as not just what we do in our professions, but as human beings. We have to have those things uh, to deal with this crazy world that we're living in, this crazy time. So So those are things that really drive me and keep me going. Is this way I see my life, not only my life, but um, how I can help others and how I can uh, give them a platform to share their stories and stuff like that. So that's what really keeps me going and driven, even if it is from my room and my house and stuff like that. That's the beauty of social media and having these platforms, these virtual platforms, and so that's why it really actually made me a lot more busier, because I've been able to host these events and bring on artists from all over this country and outside of this country, and so it's been really, yeah, it just really keeps me uh, going and driven to want to put out the best content, especially for Native people and Indigenous people, because we don't really have all of these kind of outlets, these big main platforms for people to do their work. So that's what really wants me to try to put out the best that I can.
Yeah, something that has been, I mean, I've felt so privileged to be at all involved with your reading series. But it has been really, really cool to see, or maybe scary to see that, while we're all hunkered down and quarantined for COVID, there's huge moments of social change happening globally. It's not just here in the US with, our police violence and racial violence. And it's not just here in Iowa with derecho, but the whole world is seeing something, seeing a big shift, and being able to see that with just the sorry, my cat's screaming. He agrees. With your reading series, you've had people from across the country and across the world, and universally, Indigenous people are um, persecuted and have a history of violence toward them. But I think something that we've seen, in present day from the art, from your readings, is that, there's also always this movement for change and movement for bettering culture and society from the arts of these Indigenous artists. So it's been really, really cool. It's been a real privilege to be a part of that. You also, I lost my train of thought. You also have been, I know you mentioned previously that having a captive audience has been sort of helpful for keeping the readings going, and also a motivation to stay home so that you can put your money where your mouth is. Has any of that been helpful or maybe hindering your ability to produce on your own, to make art? I know you said you don't want to wait for the necessity of a moment of change. Something that I talk about a lot and something I'll be teaching on soon is, writing as activism, when, you don't, if you can prepare, then you can be ready when the moment comes. If you can practice and work, then you can be ready when it's time for change. How does that inform how you create, or does it scare you into not creating, or does it push you to create more?
Um, it kind of it's a combination of both. I think uh, it really kind of like like what is the future gonna hold, and is it real, are we ever gonna get back to being able to uh have live exhibitions and live events again, and so sometimes, when you're trying to get something going, you're trying to sketch out ideas or something, you have those kind of thoughts, like, is this just going to be seen here on this one space? do this? Is this the only way that uh, people are going to experience our art as artists? Is this the only way? Is through a computer and a laptop? And so it's kind of, because like as artists, we kind of feed off of that live experience, that human to human. I get to explain to an individual what this piece means, or what inspired me right there when, on the spot. But on here, it's like, if a person doesn't want to see it right now, they can come back later and see it, and it's not the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like,
But I've also, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I've also noticed, I'm going to a lot more events because I have access to a lot more events.
yeah.
We never would have had Gina Cole from New Zealand, the Fijian writer that you had on. We never would have been able to have her if we were doing this in person. Or those Chicana girls that you had on, the teenagers. That was so cool. And would we have had access to them otherwise?
Yeah. And that's another thing too, is yeah, reaching out to somebody. Sometimes, like bringing them in. I've brought in, I've hosted hip hop events, so Talon and Brazil and all of them, Keto, and all these artists that I brought on. I brought them to Iowa City before, and those were like, for event organizer and promoter and stuff. It cost money to do all of that. It was you got to bring them here. You gotta put them up in the room, make sure everything is good as an artist, right? And through this way, it was like, yeah, I get to could do the kind of the same thing, except it's understood that we're kind of stuck in this situation, and so they were very kind and willing to do it for us, and uh, so it was kind of beneficial for me because I was able to see them perform for kind of free, but also it's always there now too. Like, again, like I said, it goes both ways, where people can come back to that episode and be like, oh yeah, there's that artist that I seen before, and where can I find his links and his music? Or here's a upcoming poet, where can I find their links? So that's also the beauty of that too. But again, for like someone like me who likes to host events and be out there and stuff, it's still kind of like, that's a bummer, because I mean, I don't want to kind of jeopardize nobody's health, or be a contributor to that outbreak, or if somebody gets sick and they were like, hey, they were at your event. Plus, you see a lot of things going on where, hey, somebody was at your place, or your place of business, and then you got to shut it down for 2 weeks and desanitize everything. So it's like, wow, when and now that Iowa is kind of the world capital of Corona, it really, like, what is our outlook? You kind of see the rest of the world going about living their lives because they're not stuck in this situation, and here we are, like, I ain't really trying to be out too much, and
Yeah.
it's sad that we're in square one still. We're still kind of in that same situation as we were back in when we started these reading series.
Yeah, the Midwest Writing Center is based in Rock Island, and they've had a live event, and I'm in Iowa City, that, and since Iowa City's rates since college has started up again, has been going up and up and up. I didn't feel like I could go to this organization that I work for and love. I couldn't go to their event because I would then be the problem. It's been crazy. And I've had friends from out of town, I lived in Washington for a long time, ask me what phase of reopening we're in, and we never closed. It's been really weird to see that, because you're right, people are going back to doing events. But something, I mean, I know I sort of already said this, and you said it too, something that's exciting about doing live events is that or live events online, is that while we don't get to all hang out and like go out for coffee or dessert or whatever afterwards, and get to know each other, but we can we can access all of these people and resources and arts that are far away physically that we wouldn't have been able to before. Um, Gosh, there was a question in there and I lost it. Oh, you and I have talked about this before, but with having no social contact and then doing these events, there's been a bit of a hangover afterwards where it's like um, we had so much fun and did so much of this thing that we used to love and we used to be really involved in, and then the next day it's like, oh, back to not leaving my house or seeing anyone who doesn't live with me. How do you deal with that? How does that affect you as a human and as an artist?
Um, I guess one of the ways is music. Music kind of has really, just not even through this time, but just throughout life, is that my love for kind of music has always gotten me through these kind of uh, those kind of hangover moments. We kind of experience that. People who travel to powwows and stuff and go to powwows like every weekend. It's kind of the similar thing. They call it the powwow hangover, where you're kind of like, man, it was just like popping all weekend, and all my friends were here, and now it's over, and you're kind of just like stuck still in that moment, because it felt really good to be there. That's kind of how these things are with me. But um after it's all said and done, yeah, just getting back kind of to square one and resetting myself through kind of listening to just I like all kinds of genres, but powwow music is one of the things that are very therapeutic for me. Just listening to different uh, powwow singers, but also different times of powwow singing, because it kind of evolved too, and so being in, kind of just using those things to keep, from kind of, because I know what you're saying. You can get kind of depressed, if you don't have a method of dealing with those things. Like afterwards, you can get like, man, I want that feeling again. I want to recapture that. So how could I, keep that feeling going? And here it is, like, it's in the past. You can't really do nothing about it. So uh, I just look forward to like I said in the beginning, just creating another event, kind of resetting myself mentally and everything, and getting back to square center, and then trying to create another moment again, and that's how it is with everything. That's kind of my process of how I do everything, is just kind of try to keep it alive, just uh, like I said, I listen to everything, so that really helps me.
We've had a couple of really great comments, and folks who are watching, please throw us some questions or comments or even complaints. We love that. But a comment that just really got to me was Chelsea Chisholm Vargas, a friend of both of ours,
Oh
said,
yeah.
the digital platform allows us to reach beyond borders for a unified call to solidarity. And that is one of my favorite things about living in, this 2020. And one of the coolest things about um, uh, I think the quarantine about COVID is that because so many of us have to stay home, we have to use the digital world, as our point of um, community, our point of outreach. And I wonder, if we weren't in this situation with quarantine, with COVID, would we be connecting so much with the outside world? What do you think of that? What do you think of um, how we're finding solidarity here in this very strange moment in time?
I think it for me it was just like what was it, last week we had the opportunity of hosting a creative writing workshop for sixth graders, And for us, this little uh, project that I created was based around the idea of kind of decolonizing uh, people's minds and young people's minds about uh, Native people, Indigenous people, and stuff like that. So that was part of this curriculum, not only just learning how to write a story or some of the elements to creative writing, but it was also about just educating people about Indigenous people. And I was fortunate to have my sister on Cinnamon Kills First. She was on our reading,
Oh my God,
the
she is
first one,
so
and
cool, so talented.
oh man, and yeah, she really it was our first time working with sixth graders, and she really, we really had those conversations about the history of America and why we're kind of, or how we're up to this point where, things are really changing. And I wasn't like an instructor or nothing, but I was just sitting back watching kind of these sixth graders take all of this in, and it was like a powerful moment to um, to kind of witness that, how they were actually writing it, taking notes, and like, asking questions and all of this stuff. So being able to do that, I think, was uh, again something beneficial for this platform and this medium, because to have Cinnamon come in and do that, again, she's not from Iowa, she's, so having all of these artists from all across the country to come in and do those things, I think is uh, I think it's gonna be how we're gonna do things in the future, and what we're kind of seeing through with this whole school thing going on right now, and that battle between online and in-person teaching and schooling. And so I kind of threw that out there too, is like, if there's teachers out there who want us to come in and do a little of that, we can do that and kind of come in and help kind of, change and educate people's way of seeing and thinking about not only land and the history of this country, but just you'd be surprised at how young people know all of this stuff kind of already. They were just like, I kind of, I kind of knew something was up, but my teachers and my parents never taught me that. And so to hear it from myself about Iowa, and then Cinnamon coming from another part of the country, and they have their story, it was like, a cool moment for me and for these young students.
Yeah, that's you said like four things that I'm really excited about. Um, One is something that we really want, the Midwest Writing Center. We really want these Write More Light videos to act as a community resource. You know, we want to be there for the educators in our community. We want to be there for the artists in our community who need a push, or who want to push, or who need to connect, or want to connect. And you know, we have resources. We're housed in a library. Our HQ is in the Rock Island Public Library, um, and we have that ability right now that online is a valid method of communicating, of sharing resources. You know, we had this ability before, but we didn't use it because in person is first, what we've always done. But it's also, you know, it's better in so many ways to be in person with people, and it's just not possible right now, or not safe. So that is something that we're really excited about, that I'm really excited about, is using this platform to reach out, to share resources. And then something else you said, I've noticed even in pop culture lately, we've had more artists talking about land acknowledgements, and being active with acknowledging, you know, just land acknowledgements. That's what I was going to say, just in different words. You know, recognizing where we are, where we come from, how we got to be in this place, in physically, geographically, and in time. I know that Fiona Apple on her last album did a land acknowledgement for every place where she wrote or recorded. And that's really cool and really important for people with platforms to be recognizing and shouting out and promoting um, this holistic understanding. Um, so I think it's especially cool, right? If you can do this digitally, you're reaching out to people all over potentially the world, um, and sharing that information. But then the more we do this, the bigger it gets. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
Um, I I don't think there was a question to follow that.
Uh, yeah, and kind of one of the uh, one of the sayings I got from hip hop was that you gotta kind of know where you've been to know where you're gonna go. And so I think that with a lot of what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to go with all of this is to like you got to know that history if you want to make positive and constructive change. You got to kind of acknowledge that history and some of those things. And it's like as crazy as this situation is right now in this time that we're going through, like 2020 is like almost over with, and it's just been like a crazy ride, but I think that at the end of it, I think once if ever we get out of this situation alive, I think that things will be better. I think that it's really exposing a lot of things, and it's bringing a lot of different things to light, with just everything going on, from politics to the natural world, and kind of the environment doing its own, I guess, self cleansing right now. It's really just kind of, for me, like kind of hopeful. It's just kind of like something. That's what I think is also keeping me going. Is like at the end of this craziness, um, things will be better. The world will, I think, will be a better place, because I mean, man, this is pretty bad. Uh, I've never thought or seen any of this coming. A pandemic on top of or all of these things on top of that, and then you got like this crazy wild man just going nuts, and it's and then all of this the serious stuff of racism coming to light, and that change happening all simultaneously, while we're like trying to uh, be better people, on
I'd
top
like
of
to
that, and trying to deal with
like to
mental
pause
health.
for a second and note that you said about 2020, this is pretty bad.
Yeah, this is
um,
been
we've got we've, we've got I think the understatement of the century there.
and it's funny because like crazy stuff that happens normally, like a woman getting her pants ripped off by a buffalo, for example. Like that's light now. That's like light humor. That's like I mean, it's like I think in 2019 we wouldn't have laughed so hard at that, but since like 2020's here, it's like something watching a crazy person go up and pet a buffalo. I mean, it's like, yeah, that was funny, and you seen it throughout the social media, how everybody was kind of creating those images and stuff like that, making light of that situation. It's just like, this is what we've come to in 2020, where something
No one
crazy.
died. It's funny.
Yeah, and you see the video and you watch it, and then all the memers come out and they make the memes, and then you got these crazy videos with the music behind it, and in a matter of like 2 weeks, this whole situation just came and gone, and here we are back to like, okay, you got 600 uh, coronaviruses this week, and it's like, yeah, and it's back to that reality of like, oh man, yeah, we are dealing with this life-threatening thing, and I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because we're from Iowa, maybe it's just the Iowa mindset, because like you look at like people in other parts of the country and they're just like, living a normal life. And just this morning I was seeing back to school pictures from families and their kids, and it's like, are we the only ones who are just like this crazy dying? I don't know what we are anymore in Iowa. I mean, I don't understand it myself, but it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of sad and shocking that we're supposed to be that state where you can raise a family safely and you can do all of these things. That's kind of the selling point of Iowa, and here we are, just this hotbed of like infection and infestation and nasty corona. It's like, where's our break? And then we got trees, these big old 100-year-old trees outside that have just been demolished. And it's
Yeah.
like, what has become this, crops, and you drive around these farms here. It's just really, it's good, but it's sad, because again, you got the factory farming, and you got these uh big ag and stuff like that out there. And I mean, my garden was destroyed, but I'm not a big ag farmer. But to drive around Iowa and see just kind of everything that has happened, it's pretty like, what happened to the state? What happened to all this hope that we was kind of shooting for?
So, with this in mind, with all of the, the racial violence, with the derecho, with the forest fires and the mountain fires, um, and obviously the pandemic, I think it's and quarantine. I didn't include that. I think it's really easy to lose hope if we're not laughing at this silly person getting their pants taken off by a buffalo.
Yeah.
We need those maybe terrible moments to laugh, but it's really easy to lose hope in 2020 in these challenging times. Um, do you have advice for artists for how to keep the faith, how to maybe keep your art to keep you on track, or keep looking for tomorrow? Do you have any advice for artists?
um for me, it's just to keep kind of working through it, kind of keep, I guess, as artists, we see things differently. We see life differently. We see how, things operate differently. So, looking at it through that artist's mindset and that artist's eyes, and to keep pushing through that, because, that's how we are as artists, even though sometimes we might, our art might change, not so good sometimes, just to keep pushing through that, to keep kind of that that hope for a better day, a better tomorrow, I guess. Because that's kind of what we are supposed to do as artists, is keep that hope alive in those, in the people that we uh, hope to inspire through our artwork and through our words and through our creative uh, process and our flow, is just to keep it moving, keep trying to challenge yourself, even though if our artwork doesn't get exposed, or we might not always have these platforms, because I know it's not easy as an artist to get on uh, Zoom or something to talk about your artwork. It's kind of, it's something you have to grow into, because it is weird being in a room by yourself talking here on a computer. So just keep creating and working through this time, because at some point it will have to get better. And so and at that point we can kind of share our artwork again, and kind of figure out this model. Also, reaching out to people like myself. I'm not the only one who does this. There's so many people out there doing amazing things. that you know, just reach out and try to learn this way of navigating through these times, you know, because you know, I'm not really you know, too huge on social media, but that's, as a working artist, that's something that we have to learn how to use to our advantage if we want to get our artwork exposed and our messages out there. We have to learn how to use these things, use these tools, because it's different, you know. Well, we can't just rely on setting up a booth anymore and having the work speaks for itself. You know, we have to get out there and use social media, learn how to show our work and stuff like that.
Yes, yes, totally. Just remembering to exist is so important and makes a huge difference. So we're coming up on an hour, and there's a few shout outs I want to make. First, I love you guys so much who are in the comments. Some of you have had some really great ideas. Some of you have been cracking me up. I want to go ahead and obviously shout out Dawson, the Indigenous Arts Alliance, and the Indigenous Peoples Art Gallery Cafe. As was mentioned, the stay home virtual readings with the Indigenous Peoples Art Gallery Cafe are coming back next Saturday, September 12th at 7 p.m. So this is your official call for artists. If you are an Indigenous artist anywhere on the planet, hit up Dawson. What's the email address?
IndigenousArtAlliance@gmail.com.
I will throw that in the comments here.
And yeah, just hit that up. And
Is it Art Alliance or Arts Alliance?
Indigenous Art Alliance, yeah, at gmail.com.
Email Dawson. I put that email address in the comments. Show him your work. Stay home. I will be there with him. We'll be doing those readings again every Saturday. We want you. We want your art. We want to go live.
We want to share your stories. We want to share your perspective on things. Hip hop artists, also, if you're out there and you got new work coming out, definitely hit us up. We'll promote you, get your art out there, get a live performance out there. Because I know those artists as well are kind of like, you know, what are we gonna do? So hip hop artists, hit me up. We also got some
other musicians we've had on before too.
Yeah. Acoustic guitar players and stuff like that. So definitely
we had a flute player, spoken word, whatever your art is. Hit up Dawson. We want to promote you.
Yeah, and Saturday show we got some new artists coming, so it'll be get back into that.
So then also, here's a call out, a shout out from the Midwest Writing Center. You know, let us know what you want to see, both from these Write More Light videos. You know, we want to be a community resource. We want to share with you what we can, but also, you know, what other things do you want? We've had a really dope comment about workshops for uniting Latinx and Native folks to break down barriers. We want to do it all. We've got the resources, and we want to give them to you. So the last part of our Write More Light videos, I've changed things up a little bit. We're going to do our free write here at the end. Dawson, did you want to suggest a prompt, or I can?
You can.
Okay. So something, I don't know if you're on Facebook, if you're watching the comments, we had a really fun, this is a totally universal, not inside joke at all, but we had a really fun prompt at the Young Emerging Writers internship, which was that we wrote, there's a word for it, and I'm just terrible at the proper words for things, but one of the prompts we gave the interns, which turned out to be probably the coolest and one of my favorites for sure, was to write a piece using repetition of the phrase "in these challenging times." So I'm going to set that 5-minute timer, and let's write. Obviously, if that doesn't work for you, you can just free write. Like I said before, usually my free writes turn into journals. That's totally fine. The idea is to get you writing. So we're at 4:48 now. I already set the timer. In these challenging times. Ryan, thank you. The word is anaphora for repeated phrase in writing and poetry. Ryan did just put up in the comments a link to learning more about anaphora from Rebecca Hazelton. I suggest checking that out. Any resource Ryan provides is going to be a good one. We've got 2 minutes left. Obviously, keep going after that 5 minutes is up if you're in a groove. Okay, thank you so much. Obviously, keep writing if you're in a groove. But I want to give so much big thanks from me, from the Midwest Writing Center, to Dawson for being here with us today, and to you for being here with us today. Um, Here is my big hope that you will write more light into your life. Join us next Tuesday. We're going to talk about palimpsest. And next Thursday, we're going to have another special guest on. So have a great day. Have a great weekend. Write more light into your life. Thank you. Thank you, Dawson.